TKO.
Wow, where do I even begin? 2020 started off with the biggest star in the UFC, Conor McGregor, taking out Donald Cowboy Cerrone in record fashion. That fight was supposed to be the beginning of a huge year for the UFC. Then the coronavirus happened. Dana White did his best to operate business as normal and finally get the most anticipated fight of the last 5 years, Khabib versus Tony, going. 2 weeks before the fight was to take place, Khabib dropped out because of the travel ban on Russia. In steps the highlight Justin Gaethje. Gaethje has been a top contender for a few years and has taken out virtually everybody in his way to the title. The fight was scheduled for April 18th. Dana had everything worked out and the promotion was going ahead with UFC 249, but the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse told ESPN to shut it down, so the card was canceled altogether. No worries though, the UFC is back on track and has 3 different events planned in the coming weeks, which include 2 title fights that will headline UFC 249 on Saturday, May 9th. Yes, I said 2 title fights. Co-main event of Saturday is a very dynamic fight that features the bantamweight world champion Triple C himself, Henry Cejudo, versus quite possibly the best bantamweight ever, Dominick Cruz. The main event of the UFC 249 for the interim lightweight title, with the number 1 contender Tony Ferguson facing off against Justin the Highlight Gaethje. The main event of the UFC 249 will be for the interim lightweight title, with the number 1 contender Tony Ferguson versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. That is a very intriguing fight and the second best option at lightweight, only behind the elusive unicorn that is Tony versus Khabib. That fight has been booked 5 separate occasions and has been canceled due to various issues 5 different times. And word we may never see this fight, more on that later. The UFC has canceled or changed 6 different events since March 14th, and the last fight to have fight fans in attendance was UFC 248 that was headlined by the 5-round snooze fest between middleweight champ Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero. Maybe the coronavirus should have been a week earlier. With all those fights changed, the UFC has decided to stack UFC 249 with some very big names and those 2 title fights I mentioned earlier. Former title challengers such as Jacare Souza and Cowboy Cerrone, former heavyweight champion of the world Fabricio Verdum, are all on the prelims on ESPN. A very underrated fight between Jeremy Stephens and Calvin Kattar at featherweight is the second fight on the main card, and the number 1 contender for Stipe Miocic's heavyweight title between Alistair Overeem's daddy, Francis Ngannou, and another scary individual whose name I cannot pronounce, Rozenstruik, is just before the title fights. Now I'm going to get into some of the fights and let you know who I think will win on Saturday night. A couple of fights on the early prelims features some future top contenders in their respective weight classes. Bryce Mitchell will take on UFC veteran Charles Rosa. Rosa is 3-3 in the UFC, and Bryce Mitchell is undefeated in 12 fights, with a few of those big title wins in one of the local promotions in West Tennessee called V3. He is also the second fighter in the UFC to win by submission via twister. Cal. I'm taking Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell, but don't count out the black belt Rosa. Next up is Vicente Luque and Nico Price. Nico had a nasty upkick KO his last time out. Luque lost a technical striking battle versus Wonder Boy. Price by decision. The former heavyweight champion Fabricio Verdum makes his long-awaited return and descent back to the title against Alexei Oleinik. Oleinik is tough, but Verdum takes his spot back in the top 10 and sets his sight on Stipe and the title. Cowboy Cerrone is back after essentially getting embarrassed by Conor McGregor back in January. He takes on former lightweight champion and Mr. Wheaties himself, Anthony Pettis. This is the perfect time for this rematch. Both of these guys need a win to really figure out where their careers hold next. The recent comments coming from Donald Cowboy Cerrone about having anxiety 2 days before the biggest fight of his life against Conor and truly not wanting to be there, I can see this being Cowboy's last fight, win or lose. Now, albeit on a very smaller scale, I've had similar thoughts as I believe most all combat athletes have. With 1 foot out of the cage already, I'm picking Showtime, even though Cowboy was never able to capture the world title with nothing else to truly prove. In 8 UFC records, including most UFC fights, wins, and finishes, I believe it's time for Cerrone to hang up the hat and call it a career. Thank you, Cowboy. From one Cowboy to another, former Dallas Cowboys star Greg Hardy needs to tell the UFC that no, he don't want no scrubs, but that's mostly what he's received in his UFC tenure. Saturday night will be no different. Hardy gets the win. Hopefully he won't need an inhaler this time. Stephens versus Kattar is a guaranteed barn burner. Both of these guys are absolutely animals and have cardio for days. Both had nice showings and losses in their last outings, and if I had to pick, which I do because this is what the show is all about, I'll take Kattar in a dogfight. Michael Vick isn't invited. Ngannou versus Rozenstruik. Both highlight real KOs of Alistair Overeem. Ngannou is looking to get back to the title shot. Undefeated Rozenstruik takes his first loss, and Ngannou gets the next title shot. Triple C versus Dominator. This is a fun fight, and both are very technical, and both have beat the greatest flyweight ever, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Cejudo has been on a tear for the last several years, taking out former champions such as DJ and TJ Dillashaw. He will also make sure everyone knows it too. Dominick Cruz has been on sideline for almost 3.5 years, and he's only had 6 fights since July of 2011. 11. With that, Dom is still the best damn bantamweight in the world, and on Saturday, Henry Cejudo will bend the knee and kiss the ring of Dominick Cruz. Alright, now here for your main event, Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson. If Justin Gaethje is fighting, someone is getting stopped. In 6 UFC fights, Gaethje is 4-2 with all those wins and losses by TKO or KO. That stat tells me all I need to know about Gaethje, and that is he is willing to win at all costs, even if that means putting himself in danger. Danger is Tony Ferguson's middle name. He is dangerous anywhere in the cage. His most dangerous weapon isn't a punch, kick, or submission. It's the unrelenting cardio and pressure he puts on his opponent. Tony doesn't stop until his opponent gives up or the bell rings. With that being said, Gaethje has what it takes to beat Tony, and I think that may be exactly what happens. This fight is extremely even, and Tony Ferguson is a crazy man for taking it. I believe the Tony versus Khabib fight is cursed, and for that I'm picking Justin Gaethje to end Tony Ferguson's 12-fight winning streak and go on to defeat Khabib in September. Anything can happen in the UFC, and we will find out Saturday night in their first event in 2 months. Hopefully this weekend and week to follow, the UFC will show the rest of the sports world how to operate in this coronavirus epidemic era. We are all hoping everything goes back to normal and soon, and we'll get back to business as usual. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe through everything. Maybe this show will give someone something else to think about through all this. Thank you for checking this out, and make sure you hit the like and share button. I'll see you on the next one, as long as Tim isn't busy having more kids.
TKO.